what Great Zimbabwe was like at its zenith. Shona oral tradition refers to it as a golden age. By the time Europeans came across it, it had been superseded by the state of Monomotapa. After various battles and many skirmishes, the Portuguese gave up on the interior and focused their attention on the coast, drawing off Swahili trade and attempting, ultimately unsuccessfully, to tame the sultans of Zanzibar. With the Kanyok speeding us on our way, time now to head due northwest to return to the Congo, to the capital, Mbanza, Congo. The year is 1526. The charmed relationship between the Bakongo and the Portuguese is drowning in a tide of greed and cruelty, and the trade in slaves, which had originally given the Mani Congo the purchasing power to buy foreign goods, is now increasingly out of his control, and worse, robbing the kingdom of its best men. The Mani Congo, King Afonso I, is unhappy.
Sir, there is in our kingdom a great obstacle to God. Many of our subjects crave the Portuguese merchandise which your people bring to our kingdom so keenly. In order to satisfy their crazy appetite, they snatch our free subjects. They even take our noblemen and sons of noblemen, even our kinsmen. They sell them to white men who are in our kingdom, after having transported their prisoners on the sly in the dead of night. Then they are branded. The white men allege that they have bought them, but they cannot say from whom.
The Congo states began to disintegrate. Neighboring kingdoms, which had once formed as network of alliances, began to form their own unilateral treaties with the Portuguese, and the exodus of men and women across the Atlantic to service the slave plantations of the Americas proceeded relentlessly, reducing the equatorial basin in parts to a wasteland. Finally, in 1665, the army of the Congo sustained a decisive defeat at the hands of the Portuguese, and Congo became just one of a number of small states dependent on the Portuguese, whose ruling class quaintly maintained the titles of the Portuguese aristocracy. The arrival of the Portuguese signaled the end of one of the biggest equatorial states in Africa. It signaled a grave disruption to African control of trade routes leading outside the continent, and the political life of the continent reflected this.
I think the problem started when the relationship between Portugal and Congo started to be looked at largely in terms of the slave trade, and it degenerated into a relationship of unequals. Portugal was even questioning the right of Congo to send ambassador now, and increasingly looking at Congo as really a colony and not a sovereign state.
Professor Bethwell Ogot of Maseno University in Kenya. But despite the cooperation of their kings with the Portuguese slave trade, today many Bakongo are proud of their early contact with Europe back in the 16th century. Anthropologist Dr. Remy Basenguisa, himself one of the Bakongo community, has studied their relationship with the past.
People, they remember it, that the Congo king, the Mani Congo, agreed to open his kingdom to modern influences. They say that they are less civilized than white people, but more civilized than other Congo people. For them, the country can only be saved if a Congo leads the country.
Not surprisingly, this strange sense of superiority provokes hostility from their neighbors.
If the other people say to a Congo, you are too arrogant. Huh? You think you are the only people who can save the country. Why? Huh? And there is a big problem.